In this video, we're going to learn how to print Excel worksheets. If you'd like to follow along, open the Templates and Formatting.xlsx workbook from my courses and click on the Printing tab. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the Page Layout tab. So if I click the Page Layout tab, I get the Page Layout ribbon, and I can do an awful lot from over here. I haven't really used the themes much. I've experimented with it. It just adds colors and a little bit of interest. We're going to go through most of the stuff in here very soon. Now we see over here that first I have a Walmart income statement, and then I have a Walmart balance sheet below. So let's say I wanted to print just the income statement. So I can select the range A1 down to E29, and then on that Page Layout tab in the Page Setup area, I'm going to click Print Area and then Set Print Area. So now when I click away, one way that I can go into Print Preview is I can go into File and then Print. And now I'm in Print Preview, and I am going to see what it looks like, and you can see down here on the left I have 2 pages. So I can go to the next page and I can see what this looks like, and it really doesn't look very acceptable. So I'm going to go back and play with it. Now one thing that I can do is I can change it to landscape, which means that the paper is turned sideways, so the long way is going to be on the top instead of on the bottom. So, still on the Page Layout tab in the Page Setup group, if I click Orientation and then Landscape, you can see these dotted lines, which are basically my page breaks. Now I don't have any more page breaks because this is my print area. So, if I go back to File and then Print, you can see over here that everything fits very nicely on the worksheet. Another way to do that is to go into the Page Setup. So what I'm going to do is in this Page Setup group, I'm going to click the arrow on the bottom right hand corner, and this is a trick that I often use. You can just click Fit to 1 page wide by 1 page tall, but you have to be very careful. If you have a large worksheet, it will print that out in like 2-point font. So you have to make very certain that you've chosen the print area, or you could change it to 2 pages tall or 2 pages wide, whatever you wanted to over here. And there's an awful lot more you can do here. Margins. I'm always afraid to set the margins, but you can make them a little bit skinnier so you could show more on your worksheet. We'll get into header and footer in just a moment, and then over here on sheet we'll get into a lot of that in a moment as well. Okay, now before we go into the next stuff that we're going to go over, I'd like to show you Page Break Preview, which is very nice. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click Print Area, and I'm going to click Clear Print Area because I'm going to try to print both of them now, the income statement and the balance sheet. And because I've already chosen print, we can see where my dotted lines are. So it's actually going to print out to column G. You can see the dotted line between G and H, and it's actually going to do a page break at line 34. So this is a very useful thing. If I click View, and over here there are different views over here, and you can do a custom view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click Page Break Preview, and what it does is it shows you the page breaks. So the page breaks that Excel has assigned are dotted, where ones that you put in, you can actually put in a page break. Those are going to be solid. So what I can do is I can take this page break and I can just drag it up above the Walmart balance sheet, and you can see it changed from dotted to solid. And then I'll scroll down, and we can see that not all of the balance sheet is on one page. So I can take that bottom one and just drag it down all the way to the bottom, and it will adjust the size. So now I can, under my workbook views, if I want to get out of page break preview, I just click normal and I'm back to where I am. You can see the hard page breaks. And if I go into file and then print, I have my print preview. So there's my first page and there is my second page. So everything looks really nice. Now we're going to go over some of the things that I told you that we were going to go over before. So let's say you go into print preview and everything looks kind of blank. You can actually print the grid lines. So if I click page layout, over here under sheet options, there's grid lines, there's view. So I would view them in the print preview, but they're not going to print. But I can also click print as well. And I can do the same thing for headings that I put in. I don't use headings very often. The next thing that we're going to look at is printing the titles. So we can see here in page setup, there's print titles. Now let's say I had a long list of names. Let's say it was, I don't know, 100 rows long. Obviously that's not going to fit on one page, but I only have my titles on row 1. I can tell it to repeat those titles at every page, so I don't have to insert titles part way down if I want to print the list and have the titles or the headers at the top of every page. I hope I've explained that well. So if you go into print titles, you can tell it what rows to repeat at top. You do not have to set the print area if you don't want to. You can set it other places, but if you wanted to print row 1, you could print it here. Now let's say instead this was 20 years. Obviously it wouldn't fit on one page, so we could actually have it repeat column A on every page, so we would know which expense is which. So again, go to print titles and columns to repeated left. I just click there, so it would say repeat column A. If I wanted more than one, I would just drag it out. So notice it says A to B, but I'm actually going to click cancel because I don't want to do that. Now another nice thing to do would be to put in a footer. So if you wanted, let's say you could put your name or the name of your company in a footer that would print on every page. And if you have a multi-page document, it's always a good idea to put in page numbers. Now there's two different ways we can do it. We can click insert, and all the way on the right in the text we have header and footer. So if we click header and footer, we can put in a header in any one of the categories. If we wanted to put in a footer that has the page number, I would scroll down to the footer area. We have add footer. I would go back to the design tab, and it has page number, number of pages, current date, current time, file path, file name. So there's a lot of different things that you could put in the header and footer. And if you do a different first page and leave the first page blank, then you can have a cover page and have the footer not print there and have it print on every subsequent page. So I'm going to go back and click view, and notice now I'm in page layout view, so I'm just going to click normal, and now I'm back to my worksheet. Now that we've looked at the view tab, I've pretty much gone over everything in terms of printing. The last thing that I want to say is if you click the page layout, and then in the page setup group you click that little arrow on the bottom right, as I had shown you before, you can pretty much do anything here. You can put in the headers and the footers and all sorts of other things, margins and all sorts of other things. So I'm going to click cancel. Now that we've done this, you may want to print it to a PDF, instead of to an Excel worksheet. The PDF would just be cleaner, and all the page breaks and everything would be a lot cleaner. So I'm going to click File and then Export, and notice I can do Create PDF, XPS, and I can click Create that, and I can save it as type PDF, and you can just print from there, and once again it just makes it easier for people to print in the future. Now I'm going to click Cancel. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to print.